I have a collection of C.S. Lewis's diary entries. There are some interesting tidbits. Let's see what Robot Lady thinks. This is from a letter from C.S. Lewis to one of his friends. The letter was dated in 1950, and it goes something like this. To Dorothy Sayers, concerning a speaking engagement, I would not want to lose a few weeks to find cool weather in Oxford. I can't remember if this is the 7th, 8th, or 9th refusal I have made to speak at such a place this year, but it's certainly one of the 3. So one of his friends concerning teaching to somebody, possibly myself, ought to warn them that they are risking the opening of the pit and the start of a great war. I shall certainly not let them do it if I can help it. Somewhere on the road, in the dark, they must take on new supplies, and we must stop and rest and eat. As for food, I shall soon be able to get plenty for them in the nearby town. A note written to his brother, dated 1951. Dear Jack, I have been reading your letter and think it would be a mistake to change anything in it. Of course you must follow your own judgment. I have a collection of C.S.
Hi, I am Jeff, and this is my read on C.S. Lewis, where we learn about him together through everything that he wrote, in the order that he wrote it. I am joined today by my co-host, Robot Lady. Robot Lady, it's good to see you. In this episode, Lewis is 26 years old, and he's begun as a tutor of philosophy at University College at Oxford. He begins his career as a... Oh, hang on just a second.
Philosophy tutor.
Okay, sorry about that, robot lady. We're back. Sorry about that, Daniel, if you're there. Hopefully you're still there. I saw you show up in the chat. Good morning. Just had a little bit of unexpected interruption there. But we'll jump into where we left off. And we were saying in this episode, Lewis is 26 years old. He's begun as a tutor of philosophy at University College, Oxford. He begins his career as a faculty member at Oxford, giving lectures to small and sometimes eccentric audiences. We've had reports of only 4 attendees, sometimes only 2. And he tutors his students on philosophers like Kant and several others at this point. Since 1922, Lewis has been keeping a diary of his daily life at the request of his deceased friend Paddy Moore's mother. And that's where we are today, Robot Lady. Are you ready to get started? You told me earlier that you remember what our last diary entry was that we read. If you could give the date of that. First of all, tell us how you're doing, but then give us the date of the last diary entry that we covered here in our series, Read on C.S. Lewis, and maybe you can help remind us what the content of the last diary entry was.
I'm doing great, Jeff. Excited to dive back in. The last diary entry we read was from Thursday, February 26th, 1925. In that entry, Lewis had a day full of interactions. There was an essay read by someone named Johnson, some weather trouble, and a walk with Pat. He also mentioned his frustration with the moral philosophy discussions. Now, we're ready to move on to February 27th, 1925. Should we dive right in?
Let's dive right in. February 27th, which is a Friday in 1925. He says, Buckley, Hogg, who is much improved, and lecture. At the end of the latter, old Nightingale broke forth into panegyric on my lectures. What between comic despair that my only admirer was such an old ass, and a sort of shame that I should return an old honest man's goodwill by thinking him an ass, I was in a confused state. This is somebody that we've referenced before. Well, we've referenced Nightingale before. I honestly can't remember who he is, though.
Yes, that's Nightingale again. Lewis seems conflicted about Nightingale's praise. He's grateful, but it also makes him uncomfortable, his admirer being an old ass. It shows Lewis's self-awareness, as well as his tension between appreciating kindness and feeling a bit awkward about it. This seems to be one of those moments where his self-doubt and need for validation from certain people, like older figures in academia, are at play. How do you feel about his reaction to the compliment?
He's conflicted. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Let's jump into the next diary entry. Sunday, the 1st of March, he says, up late, a gray, raw day, bringing horizons near. I walked up Shotover Hill with Pat after breakfast. Too many people about, but I enjoyed my walk. The fire was in the yellow room. Sat there when I got home and began rereading Tasso's Jerusalem with considerable enjoyment. But I was disappointed in my Italian. Lunch and jobs and a nice quiet afternoon reading in the yellow room with Mrs. Moore. The girls being all at the Taylors'. Mrs. Moore and I had a pleasant little stroll around Barton after tea. Robot Lady, this Tasso's Jerusalem, I presume it's written in Italian based on the context of Lewis's reference to it in this sentence where he says he was disappointed in his own Italian. Is that correct? And give us a recap, because I know he's mentioned this sometime before, of what Tasso's work Jerusalem is about and when it was published and why Lewis might be interested in it.
Yes, you're right. Tasso's Jerusalem Delivered, Jerusalem Liberata, is an epic poem originally written in Italian. It tells the story of the First Crusade, focusing on the Christian knights' journey to liberate Jerusalem from Muslim control. Tasso's work blends historical events with mythological elements, making it an engaging, dramatic piece that reflects the chivalric ideals of the time. Lewis's interest in Tasso could be tied to his broader fascination with classical and medieval literature, which often appears in his reading habits. He was particularly drawn to works that combined heroic narratives with spiritual or moral lessons, themes that run through Tasso's poem. The fact that he was disappointed in his own Italian might point to his desire for proficiency in languages, especially as he was already a skilled reader of Latin and Greek. It also speaks to his tendency toward self-criticism and his high standards. Does it surprise you that Lewis is rereading something like this? Or is it in line with his usual intellectual curiosity?
No surprise. He always likes to pick up something to read and returns to things that he either never finished or just enjoyed and goes back to check them out again. I think a quote later in Lewis's life, I don't remember anywhere close to what the quote was, but something like he felt ashamed to have said he only read a book once, and so he tried to read many books over the course of his life, at least twice, unless he just found no use in them the first time. Okay, so that's the end of the diary entries for a little while. That was March 1st, and I don't think he picks it back up again until, let me look ahead. Yeah, August of 1925. So we've got a gap here. But our editor in the diary that I'm reading from, All My Road Before Me, the diary of C.S. Lewis from 1922 to 1927. Robot Lady, you're going to say something. Go ahead.
That makes sense. Lewis's habit of revisiting books is definitely in line with his intellectual nature. His desire to reread and deepen his understanding shows his thoughtful approach to life and learning. That quote you're thinking of is a good one. Lewis did place great value on revisiting works to extract new insights or simply enjoy them more deeply. As for the gap between March 1st and August 1925, it's interesting that this period isn't documented in his diary. I'm curious how the editor, Walter Hooper, fills in the gaps or provides context for what Lewis might have been doing in that time. Have you noticed anything particularly notable in the sections between the diary entries, like any editorial insights or reflections?
About what he has to say here. Let's not waste any time, because actually I have to leave here pretty soon. So I'll just read this editor's note, and then we'll end there for the diary entries today. He says, once again, Lewis abandoned his diary, this time from the 2nd of March until the 16th of August, 1925. While it is a pity that this happened when there was so much of interest going on,